we are here again with Reverend Chris Wilson-Andoh, who is a senior pastor at Calvary International Christian Center. We are going to be continuing our discussions on some of the things that he has been preaching throughout this month of July. So there are two main important messages, and he's going to be taking us through all of them bit by bit to make sure that the bits that people haven't gotten yet, they are going to get it. And we are going to make sure to address all the questions that people have sent to us as well. So in the first place, Reverend Chris, thank you very much for having the time with us again.
My pleasure, always.
Right. Reverend Chris, you have taught two very, very important messages, and one of them is actually a shocker. I'd like to describe it as a shocker. the message that you preach on Wednesdays during your midweek services, leadership, and the ones that you have been talking about on Sunday have been under the topic, get ready to stop work, you have 25 minutes, and I call that the shocker. So we'll save that for last, and we'll start with the leadership bit. So, Reverend Chris, your message on leadership started in a very interesting way. You said that everybody is a leader, and that you said that even if somebody is not in a corporate position, at least the person has himself or herself to lead. What should anybody be doing as a leader of his own life to be able to be a successful leader?
One of the things about leadership is to lead either yourself or any group of people from where they are to a better place. So the first thing about leadership is to get better, improve, become much better than you are. So when we talk about leadership, all we are saying is that we are on a journey to a better place. The best example we have is Moses. Israel was in the land of bondage, and Moses was supposed to lead the people of God from the land of slavery to the promised land. And all the ups and downs that comes with it is really the journey of leadership. Are you getting it? So it's more like you're leading people, you're leading yourself from where you are to a better place.
Wow. So essentially, if a person doesn't see himself progressing in certain things, chances are that he probably hasn't really seen himself or herself as the master of his own life, who should be taking certain decisions to make things better.
So I gave the example of African leadership, and I said to you that if you look at the story of Africa, it is basically a story of failed leadership, in the sense that when they got independence, or countries started getting independence, the leaders were supposed to better the lot of the people, the country that they were leading. But if you look at the story of Africa, whatever country you pick, you realize that the citizens have not been bettered, the economies have not been bettered, nothing has gotten much better since the colonial masters left. It's actually either decayed or gotten worse. And that is what failed leadership looks like. Are you getting it? So it's more like you're supposed to lead yourself from a place to a better place, from a lower place to a higher place. I use the other example of Israel. When Israel was in bondage in Egypt, they were hoping for God to come and rescue them, and God came through Moses, and Moses was supposed to lead them to the promised land, and everything that they went through, the wilderness and all that, was the test of leadership to take them to the promised land. So basically, leadership does not end until you got into your promised land.
Wow. Thinking about that, I remembered when you talked about leadership of more than one person to a group. So that you talked about the fact that when you are leading a group, the dynamics are a bit different. So that somebody who is leading a group has to have a heart that is bigger than somebody who's only leading himself. Reverend, you particularly emphasize that leading a group of people, even if you are doing the best, so that even if you are looking at the best case scenario of leadership, there will still be certain difficulties coming in the form of what people say, how people think about what the leader is doing. What did you say is the best way to be able to address all these pettiness or the difficulties, even with good leadership of a people?
A friend described leadership as being on the apex of a pyramid. So it's very lonely at the top.
Yeah.
It's the lower you get, the more company you have. If you are not willing to be lonely, if you are not willing to be hated, if you are not willing to be criticized, you have no business leading a group of people. Because a group of people leading them, even when you're doing your best, expect to be criticized. So criticism and accusation is not something that should incapacitate you as a leader. You've got to develop a thick skin, because we always criticize or gossip about somebody. If you're going to be a somebody, then expect to be criticized.
It's hard, isn't it, though, that a person who, in their best of hearts, know that this decision that I'm taking, for example, let's say in the case of country leadership, okay, maybe a person is taking a decision that would rather lead to the country being freer from debt. But then that would lead to the people not seeing certain flashy things in the interim. And somebody else comes to say, well, I'm going to make sure that we have a situation where everything looks very, very beautiful. But then behind the back, on the papers, there's a lot of debt piling up. When the pressure is coming, when the pressure is mounting, for a good leader, what is his escape, or what should he turn to?
See, a good leader is always known posthumously. A good leader is always known at the end, not whilst he's leading. You know, if you're going to be a good leader, you must always look at history. See, what makes the leaders of the West better than leaders of developing countries? Leaders of developing countries think about now. Leaders of the West, the developed countries, think about history. How would history judge me? How would history record me? And so they take decisions based on how they'll be recorded in history. You understand? But the shallow type of leader is thinking about my popularity and how many things I can amass, how many sweetness and toffees I can give to people so that they like me for now. And they don't really care about what history would describe them as. So that is how come you see, I don't want to use names, but you look at some of the names that some African leaders call themselves. I'm the conqueror of the British Empire. I am the cock that moves from one hand to the other. You know, all this type of silliness. You get it. And what they don't realize is that they are not going to be judged by now. They are going to be judged by their legacy. You know, and in life, for all of us in life, it is about our legacy. What are we leaving? What is posterity going to remember us by? When you talk about Charles Wesley, John Wesley, history records him as a certain man who had passion for Christ, who led a certain life, who carved a certain path that the Methodist Church is following up to today. So you see, that is how you must look at life. As a church, as a leader of a church, I'm not looking at now. I'm not looking at how people this year or next year is going to look at me and hail me. It's about what 50 years from now I'll be remembered by. That is what makes you a good leader.